Hey guys, it's Michaela. I know it's been a long time since you've seen me, and apologies for that. My life has been a problem as of late, and that has been the last 2 years of my life in general, but my car died, haven't been able to go to work, because I haven't been able to go to work, been worrying a lot about money, and I can't afford a new car, and there's just a lot of things going on that's making me kind of sad. But one of the things I have been doing is reading, and if I can, like, get my energy up or get my confidence up enough to sit and talk to the camera, I will try to do so and talk to you about some of those books, because I have a lot of books. If you haven't been following me on Goodreads, I have been posting all of the books that I've been reading. And Gretchen and I do have plans to do things. We tried to do something last week, but my internet wouldn't allow it, and by that I mean my computer decided that audio isn't a thing. You're not allowed to have audio in a discussion type format. So we're going to try and redo that discussion as well when we both can. Part of the problem is finding free time, but all of that is housekeeping. Today I'm here to talk about the Stephen King Readathon, which is starting on Monday. It was started by Josh at Literary Gladiators. I'm sure all of you already know about him, but just in case, I will link his channel down below. I'm also going to link his TBR down below. We all know that Gretchen and I don't do TBRs very often, and part of that is that we are both very spontaneous readers. There's certain things that we want to read, and then the next minute we want to read something else, and making a plan for like a month is too much time. And while this readathon is over the course of a month, because it is such a widespread, not genre, but widespread theme, and that you should be reading Stephen King books, it gives me the ability to sort of pick and choose what I want to read. Now, I want to start off by saying that last month we did read Stephen King's On Writing, so if you want to be ahead of the game and already hear some of our thoughts on Stephen King's work, in particular this nonfiction piece that he wrote, I will link the video up above, and I will also send this along in the description below. Go watch our discussion of it and add your own thoughts on it if you've already read it. Or if you haven't, and what you are excited about. I know that Josh is going to be reading this during the readathon, so hopefully he'll put his thoughts down below on our video as well. But this one's already been read, already done, so not part of the readathon. Just wanted to shout that out. The second thing I wanted to say is that I am in the middle of a Stephen King book right now, and that is 11/22/63. Unfortunately, it is in the backseat of my car, which is in a shop, which is not with me currently today. If my car, which it is looking like it is dead in the water, I will just go and empty it out, and then I will have my book back. But I can't hold it up for you and show you. I want to say like 40% into it. And one of the reasons why that's going to take me forever is that it's like 1,000 pages, because Stephen King. But I'm really loving it. It's been the first Stephen King in a long time to like suck me in. And even though in like the 350, 400 pages I have read, we haven't gotten to the actual plot yet. I'm perfectly fine with that. I was fine with everything that was happening up until this point. I was fine with all of it. I was especially fine with how he's tying it into his greater world that Stephen King has, and that's maybe one of the videos I might do, is to talk about the world that Stephen King has created, the meta Stephen King universe, and the cities and towns that sort of show up and weave throughout his narratives. Because he does that, and while they are not like a series per se, they do talk to each other, and it's super interesting when you're reading one and you're like, oh, I saw that, I read that one, I saw the thing that you're referencing. So yeah, that might be a video that I do during this month, but this video is supposed to be about what I'm going to be reading, and aside from finishing that guy, I am going to talk about the Stephen King books that I currently have with me at my aunt's house. On top of 11/22/63 and On Writing, it looks like I have 4 other Stephen King works of my own purchasing here in my house, which is a significant chunk of books, seeing as all of the other authors that I super love, I have like 1 or 2 of theirs. Stephen King's, I have a stack, which says something. 2 of these are collections of his short stories, and I think that those are definitely things that I can tackle while I am here. One of them you guys have seen once before on the channel, and that's The Bazaar of Bad Dreams by Stephen King. This was my blind date with a book from Under the Radar Books, and I haven't read it yet, and I feel super bad about that because I was so excited to open this up and see it and have it in my possession. I am very excited to get to this finally, and it's been over a year now, and I need to read it. I need to read it. Some of you might know that I got my start with Stephen King by reading his collection called 4 Past Midnight. The other collection of his that I have with me that I haven't read yet is Skeleton Crew. This one has the short story in it called The Mist, which was made into a movie. It's from the 80s, so it's one of his earlier collections of short stories. I believe 4 Past Midnight was in the 90s or early 2000s. It's been a while. I read it in high school, but I think it's been a while, so it might have been like 2010s. Obviously, Bazaar of Bad Dreams is his most recent collection, I believe, unless something else has come out, but I believe that's his most recent, and this is one of his earlier ones. So I have a good range of like looking at how his stories will be developing over time, which I will find super interesting and will want to discuss in some way. But yes, so I have 2 different collections of his short stories. I really love them as a good way to get into Stephen King if you want to participate but you don't want to jump in on like It or jump into Salem's Lot or jump into Under the Dome, and they're these huge tomes that are you know, thousands of pages that you're like, I can't read that much. Grab a collection of his short stories and try that, because it's an easier way to dip in and out of his work without fearing the size. Like, while this is super thick, it's got a score of stories in here, so it's like a lot of shorter stories, and just a good way to try out Stephen King if you haven't. If, like me, you're a big horror fan and a big horror movie fan, you will have been seeing all of the lovely promotions for this guy coming out at the beginning of September. This one is the one that I want to get to so badly. I want to read this again, because I did read it in high school. It's so big. I want to read this again before the movie comes out, but it comes out September 3rd, so that leaves me with like, what, 2 weeks? A week and a half? Oh. I don't know that I can feasibly do it. I might reread the book, watch the new movie, and rewatch the old series, but this is definitely one that I want to get to soon because I want to go see that movie in theaters, and because it's something that I enjoy so much. It was definitely a staple for me growing up. Like, it was one of the Stephen Kings that kind of like mind-blown horror, great, just beautiful crafting type books. And while a lot of people don't say this is his best, it was one of the ones that really captured me. So I was thinking on rereading this one, but it's the size of it, guys. Always the size. Stephen King, why you gotta kill me? The last book that I have here for Stephen King is The Drawing of the Three, which is, people will know, not horror. This is the second book in his Gunslinger series, which is a weird meta western kind fantasy. What is it? It's genre bending, genre breaking craziness with a very charismatic protagonist. And from what I hear, the first book is the worst book in the series. I read it 3 years ago now. Oh god, it's been a really long time. And I picked this one up like right after I finished the first one, but I haven't read it yet. And part of that is that I've been reading so many other things, not because I didn't want to jump back into that world, but because like it's just hit the back burner in a lot of ways. So I'm going to use this as an excuse to continue this, and this one's a super short one. So it's definitely one that I can jump into and jump out of and just be super excited about. So yes, Drawing of the Three. So that means that I have one historical thriller novel, one huge chunky horror novel, one Western slash fantasy slash meta slash what the heck is this novel, and 2 collections of short stories that I'm planning to read in 4 weeks' time. We'll see how that works out. I may only finish 11/22/63. I may only read a couple of short stories out of those collections, but I want to make content on my Fridays that have to do with Stephen King, discussing his world, discussing the different genres. So like if you don't like horror and all you've ever known is that Stephen King writes horror, I may make some videos where I discuss some of his other types of books. Like don't read Cujo, don't read Pet Sematary, but you might want to pick up something like The Gunslinger, or you might want to pick up 11/22/63, or something else that has less horror themes and more action adventure. That's all I got for you guys today. Go tell Josh you love him and are super excited about this, and that you are gonna be reading all of the things. Let me know if there's one of these books that you saw that you want me to review in particular. Yeah, we'll see how well that goes. And then we will be doing our next book club Bibliomancy for Beginners episode on the 30th, I think is the last Wednesday of the month, and we'll be discussing Dead Mountain, which I finished yesterday and super loved. And if you're into the creepy supernatural shit, that one's a good one, but it's nonfiction. Like, what happened? Is it science, or is it aliens, or is it Stephen King wrote a short story that lived out in real life? Who knows? We'll all be discussing it and what we think happened on that day. And of course, if you want to join the book club and know what we're reading ahead of time, there's a Goodreads page for that as well, which I will link below as always. Hopefully I can continue to make good, consistent content. Gretchen and I have some other things lined up for you guys too, and yeah, that's all I have. I feel like I've been rambling because I've done the thing where I haven't made a video in a long time, so I'm just talking. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good weekend. Bye!